going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon. Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Michigan coming to town for 3 different sports this weekend. We'll talk baseball, we'll talk softball, we'll talk lacrosse. Also, the 4th spring practice for Oregon football inside Autzen Stadium this morning. Co-defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach Chris Hampton talked with the media upstairs in the Hatfield-Dowling Complex Media Center today. We have that for you. A lot to unpack with a lot of new faces. There's a ton of experience in Oregon secondary, but not necessarily a ton of experience at Oregon. Break some of that down with Chris Hampton in a moment. Also, Tatum Tuioti, Noah Whittington met with the media today. And Oregon softball head coach Melyssa Lombardi, she's going to join us coming up here in the Country Financial Studio to break down a rivalry series win. Ducks beat the Beavs last night. Great time in Corvallis. We'll unpack all of that for you. Kiara Romero of Oregon Women's Golf is currently playing in the perhaps most prestigious amateur event annually. She's at Augusta National, and she was tied for first at last score check. We're going to get an update for you coming up throughout the course of the show. Mason DeVille is on the Golden Spikes midseason watch list from Oregon baseball. It was a tough night for Duck baseball in Portland. I will review some of that. Also, Taylor Susnara will join us. Head coach, Oregon Acrobatics and Tumbling. Her team in Waco on Saturday. Clash of Titans. Number 1 Baylor, number 2 Oregon. The two teams that have been on the forefront of this sport, they clash in the regular season finale for Oregon Acrobatics and Tumbling tomorrow in Waco. Chris Hampton, Duck defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator, and defensive backs coach. A lot of great things. Breaking down the defensive backs. That's the corners, the nickels, stars, the safeties. And that's a group that has a lot of freshmen from last year that now figure to be in much larger roles this season. Plus, complementing with a couple transfers. Breaking down a very in-depth position group, the defensive backs, Chris Hampton, with the media today.
What's it been like reconnecting with Jaden, and has he been, albeit in a short time, as vocal as advertised by his former Ole Miss teammates?
Yeah, it's been great. Jaden's obviously a young man I had a chance to work with and coach at Tulane in 21 and 22. Very cerebral, kid, high IQ, competitive, very tough. Understands the game inside and out. He's only been here for, I guess, half a week now. But so far he's looked fine. He's got obviously got to get in better shape, to practice how we've been practicing. Coach Love had our guys in tremendous shape. So he's got some things to work on as far as they're learning the scheme. But he's been good.
You're on the right, Zach.
Tosh described this defense as lacking Oregon experience. It's especially true for the secondary. What does that kind of look like this spring so far, kind of as far as competition goes?
Yeah, I think the spring is about growth. That's the big thing. Like, this is my favorite part of the year to coach. During the spring is all about, personal growth, each and every guy getting better. How can we get better as a unit? How can we get better individually, collectively, as a group? We don't have a whole lot of experience, but we got a lot of talent, So it's my job as a coach, all of our job as coaches is to get them caught up and get them to play up to the Oregon standard. But I'm excited about them. We got a really good-looking group. We've got a lot of work to do. We're not there yet by any means right now, but I think we're on the right path.
Right here on the left, second row, Eric.
You're probably not going to have a lot of details from practice because there's only been 4, but the 3 true freshman corners being such standout prospects. So what can you say kind of about those 3 guys and the importance of having them here for spring?
Yeah, I think it's really important. You know, they all fit the profile, height, weight, speed. They look the part for sure when you come out there and watch us practice. They don't look like true freshmen. They've all got size. They've got tremendous length, arm length. They're as talented as they come. They obviously, right now is new for them, adjusting to college. It's still football, but the speed of the game changes, the terminology changes, the tempo of practice. All these guys are probably used to being the best player on their team, and then they're around a bunch of good players. So that's an adjustment for them. But they've caught on really, really fast. Brandon just got here this week, but he's worked extremely hard at home, you can tell.
Back left, Matt.
When you watched film on Dylan and you were preparing to go after him and whatnot, has anything changed, or have you seen something that doesn't show on film being around him now, whether it's on the field or off the field? What's been impressive there?
Yeah, I tell you what, when you watch the film, you obviously see a guy that's made a bunch of tackles. He's been really productive, had over 100 tackles 2 years in a row. Had 6 interceptions, I think, his true freshman year. So you knew he had some ball production, some ball judge ability, and he was a really good tackler. But what you didn't know is the person. We didn't recruit him out of high school. Once you get to know him, the person is much better than the player. His attention to detail, his work ethic is like none other anyone I've ever coached. The guy's relentless in his pursuit for greatness. He's trying to get better each and every day. I mean, growth, we say growth. I mean, he's all about growth. Every rep, every day, every meeting, like he's a pro. And so that's what you didn't know. That's like, whoa, the intangibles about this guy was really tremendous.
On the right here, Chris.
Yeah, sticking with Dylan, when you have a guy like that in a room that's so young and inexperienced, how does that help pull everybody else along?
I think it's really beneficial, and that was one of the challenges for Dylan. He's not a real vocal guy if you just get to know him. He's kind of reserved a little bit, and so when we brought him here, once I got to know him a little bit, I said, okay, my challenge for you is for you to grow as a leader. And first he was like, hey, coach, I got to prove myself to the guys, and they all noticed his work ethic. I mean, he was doing extra all the time. I mean, he is a workout junkie, a film junkie. I mean, he is a ball guy through and through, and a great student. And the guys saw that, and then they started to feed off of him. And he started to lead, and he's been more vocal as of late.
Front left, James.
What's your outlook at Nichols specifically, Chris, and how you'll handle reps throughout the offseason with Dalen facing some uncertainty, and who all else is there besides him and Jaden in terms of solo and name there as well?
Yeah, yes, we've got quite a few guys that are working there. We always talk about position versatility. With this group that we've got this year, I think it's more important than ever of guys knowing how to play multiple spots. Like Jaden's a guy that's played star. He's played safety. He played corner all last season, depending on the game for Ole Miss. Obviously, Dalen has done it. Solo has done it. Jaleel Florence is back moving around for us. He can do it for us. Tamon Davis. We've had a bunch of guys. Zach Grisham is doing it. And then we're going to get, some of our safeties learning as well. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're just rotating guys. In the spring, fall camp, we do a green-yellow. There's no depth chart. It's just all about PG, personal growth, and guys learning how to play multiple positions, and we want them to understand the scheme. So I may move them, and I may challenge them. One day you're at corner, tomorrow you're a star. Okay, this rep you're a star. Hey, in 4 plays, you're going to safety. And I expect you to know it because it may happen like that in the game. Ultimately, we want to be able to play the best 5 guys at any time on the field. So them knowing multiple positions will only enhance their ability to do that. We don't play a field safety, the boundary safety during spring or fall camp. We just play a left and right. We play a left and right corner. So right now there's really just positionless, and then we'll go from there and figure out who the best guy is to play the spot.
Back right, Aaron.
Had a lot of new players last year in the defensive back room. Again, this year, a lot of new, especially young players. Just what have you kind of learned from last season that you're taking into this season? A little bit more familiar also, too, with the scheme.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done. I mean, I think last year, we played pretty good football with a lot of, new guys, and, they were new to Oregon as well. This year, we're just young and experienced of ever playing football at this level, in college. So going from last year to this year, it's a totally different team, but the thing that I can take as a coach is how can I grow? How can I teach better? That's kind of what I'm challenging myself. How can I make the complex simple? Okay, this scheme is kind of complicated. How can I look at it and put myself in his shoes and say, hey, this is exactly what it is? right? If you do this and this, then that's what it is. And so just as coaches, we're always challenging ourselves as how can we get better, become better teachers to the guys and make the complex simple to them so they can play fast.
Back middle, Brett.
Coach Lang talked yesterday about kind of how hungry this group seems to be to learn. Who's caught your eye that's really shown that hunger to learn, especially out of the young group, and maybe even some of the veterans that have shown a deeper, increased hunger to want to get better all across the field?
Honestly, it's hard for me to single out one guy or, they all are, being honest with you. And I think when you walk into a room like ours that's talented, you really have no choice but to be hungry or you're going to get left behind. All right, so you walk in and you look through the room and every guy in here was kind of recruited pretty high. They all can play, and I tell guys that I'm recruiting, I'm not going to tell you any of the guys that on our team can't play. They can play. But it's going to be the same if you get to the NFL. Those guys can play too. So I think that there's a lot of competition amongst each other. They push each other and they want to be great. So I just think it's kind of the standard that Coach Lanning has said here. The way we take notes is different than any place I've ever been. Right now, I've been involved with college football since 2004 when I played at South Carolina. I never took notes. All right, and that's probably why I was an average player. But these guys now take like elite notes, and so I've learned that from being here. It's the way you take notes. They take notes like the coaches do, and it just everyone falls in place. It's part of the culture.
Right here in front, right, exactly.
Been a lot of positive buzz around Iffy and kind of how he's grown from last year to this year. Bryce earlier this week said that he's a freak in practice. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, if he's a really competitive player, man. Competitive, tough, loves the game, doesn't say a whole bunch, just kind of laid back demeanor and does his job consistently. And that's the thing that you love about him, man. I mean, he's got long arms, tremendous wingspan, get his hands on guys. He's physical. He has the right mentality and mindset too. I mean, he's made of the right stuff, and I think he's going to have a really bright future here at Oregon.
What have your early impressions been of the younger safeties? Obviously, a lot of these guys were here last year.
Yeah.
Some of them are new. What have you seen from them?
That's a good. I love them. I really do. I think we got a really, really good group. They're young. They haven't played. Me and Connor Boyd was talking about. I was like, we think we're pretty good at safety. Now it's got to keep going, but they're growing the right way. Last year they were true freshmen. You've got Trey McNutt right now, who's probably ahead of where those guys were last year at this time. Last year, he's not ahead of them right now, not yet, but he's going on the right pace. So I think we got a good group. They've got to continue to get better, got to continue to grow. But after 4 practices, and I think they're hungry to play. They are. They didn't play a whole bunch last year, and now it's their time.
Back left, Matt.
Kind of along those same lines of Peyton's a guy, I think one of the only freshmen to actually play, and he's now a sophomore. Just kind of where's he at from when he arrived here last year to kind of now that growth over the whole year?
Yeah, night and day. He was a guy that wasn't here last spring, so he didn't have the spring with us. He got here in late June, so he was a little bit behind as far as how much football he had missed with us. But no, it's a night and day difference from where he was last year. So I think he's got a bright future with us.
Right here on the right middle, Chris.
You brought up earlier that Jalil is back. Is he back 100%? And how's he looking so far this spring? What sort of expectations do you have for him this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's rolling right now. I think you'd have to ask him, what's what. He's trying to get better. So is he exactly where you want him to be at? No, but nobody is right now. But he's practicing. He's not limited in reps. He's taking every rep. He's getting better and better each and every day. Like, he looks better this week than he did before spring break. Like, it's a tremendous difference. So I think with confidence and reps, he's going to get, be back to the player that he once was.
We got 2 more, James, then Aaron.
When you guys made the improvement that you did from the year before, Chris, as a secondary as a whole, as a defense as a whole, but the whole starting secondary, I'd say, would be undersized.
Yeah.
A corner, everybody was 5'9".
Yep.
What do you think y'all are going to be capable of with a group that's all 6 to 6'3", 6'4" across the board, particularly when the goal and objective is postseason play against the likes of Ohio State or offenses that have the kinds of receivers like Jeremiah and Agbuka, et cetera? If you're going to be going up against 3 NFL receivers, what do you think you're capable of with corners that are more prototypical?
Yeah, I think, that's why you recruit. And I think we've done a tremendous job here recruiting our recruiting staff. Marshall, Tyler Dean, Brian Bachman, all those guys have done a tremendous job of identifying guys that fit the profile that'll help us get to where we want to go. And I think now we've got a group of guys that we've recruited that look the way that fit the height, weight, speed profile that you would want. And I think the guys that we had last year were tremendous players. Love them all. And so, I just hopefully, these guys are young. They don't have as much experience as the guys did last year, but they're bigger. But talent doesn't always win, and that's the big piece that we're preaching to the guys now. It's not about the talent that you have. I was reading a book from John Calipari. He talked about, he had all these 5-star players. Maybe 10 of them got drafted, and they didn't win a national championship. They were the most talented team. All right, but talent doesn't always win. It's about applying the talent and going in the right direction. So that's kind of what we're trying to get done now is learning the fundamentals, playing with elite technique, understanding my assignment, my alignment, my keys, and going from there. But I think the sky's the limit. I really do. How soon can we get there? That's the challenge.
Last question, Aaron, back right.
You talked about just the competition within the room, but I know you guys are only 4 practices in. You got your first scrimmage ahead of you. Have you been able to do any defense, offensive competition at all? And if you have, kind of what have you seen about the progress of the offense going up against them in practice?
Yeah, today was our 4th practice. So, and every day we go against offense. And today going against our offense, I think today was our best practice as a team. And that's what you want to see, that you get better each and every day. Day 4 should be better than day 3 and better than day 2, etc. So I think today was our best day. But we haven't watched the film yet. Obviously, there'll be a lot of mistakes on there, but I thought the effort was there, the energy. That's kind of what you want to see is if we're doing that, we're playing hard, and we're going to make mistakes, right? And the mistakes that's up to me to fix as the coach, with the secondary. So, but I think that the effort is there, the energy is there, going forward. Now, offense, to answer your question, Aaron, always is a challenge going against our offense. And those guys do a tremendous job, gives us all types of shifts and motions, formations, and things like that. We've got really good players on offense. A lot of non-Oregon experience over there as well. But I think the guys will compete.
That's Chris Hampton, co-defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach for the Ducks. He met with the media after this morning's spring football practice. Brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Better cancer care close to home. We got more coming. Missy Lombardi, Taylor Susnara, a pair of head coaches will be with us, and we review some good and some not as good on the diamond from last night. Next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Duck softball and Duck baseball, both in action last night as we welcome you back to Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union here in the Country Financial Studio. Baseball dropped a matchup at Portland. Oregon softball won the in-state rivalry against Oregon State. Now they both get ready for Michigan coming to town. First place in the Big Ten standings is on the line for actually both of these programs. Oregon baseball dropping a couple games to Ohio State moved them out of first place. They've got some ground to make up this weekend. Oregon softball controlling its own destiny in the Big Ten at this point. Oregon softball and Oregon baseball hoping to defend home, as Coach Lombardi calls it, the Lion's Den. It is the pink game for Oregon softball on Friday at 6 o'clock. For Oregon baseball, Western night, Saturday. PBR is in town, by the way, everybody. Pro bull riding at Matthew Knight Arena. You see the connection here. And then Bark in the Park, Sunday, PK Park. GoDucks.com's got more details on Bark in the Park. It's $10 for your Bark in the Park tickets. And then also Oregon lacrosse is hosting Michigan this weekend. It is Senior Day Sunday at Pape Field. Hope to see a lot of people, and I will tell you, I've seen some Wolverines around the Eugene area with multiple Michigan teams in town. Well, first for Oregon baseball last night, a couple home runs. Anson Arrows has hit a home run in 4 straight games now for the Ducks, but it was not a lot of offense beyond that. Ducks did not have a runner in scoring position until the 5th inning against Portland. It was a really special moment, though. The Sherwood showdown between two Sherwood High School products, a sibling rivalry between Ian Umlant, the junior for Oregon, and his younger brother, Nolan Umlant, freshman right-hander pitching for Portland. They each went 2 innings. Ian Umlant did not allow a earned run. But then, as we fast forward through the game, Ducks made some mistakes. And then in the 9th inning with 2 outs, here's the sequence. Hit by pitch, walk, hit by pitch, hit by pitch. Walk-off, hit by pitch for Portland. And they were fired up about it. Team that was a few games below 500 heading into the matchup. Portland gave the Ducks their 8th loss of the season. Now, Oregon is still sitting at 20-8, but 3 straight losses. Ducks haven't seen that this year. In need of a bounce back Friday under the beautiful sunshine that is in the forecast at PK Park. The good news for Oregon baseball, though, Mason Neville today named to the Golden Spikes mid-season watch list. That's the player of the year in collegiate baseball, Mason Neville on that list. Now to some better news on these in-state diamond matchups. Oregon softball with an excellent 9-1 win last night, beating the Beavs. Gosh, they were outstanding. Stephanie Maake, another stellar night, and truly a great response after losing to Oregon State in the first meeting between these two teams. Ducks lost at the Jane. They went up and won in Corvallis by 8. A 9-1 final for Oregon softball. Ducks are feeling pretty doggone good right now. The offense is clicking, and maybe more importantly, Elise Sokolsky went the distance against the Beavers. Complete game. Only allowed 1 run. Defense was good. Stolen base record looks like it might fall at the Jane this weekend, both for an individual in Kyle Lushar and for the team. Just keep your eyes on that if you're at the Jane this weekend. Limited tickets are available. Hope to see so many people at Jane Sanders Stadium for what figures to be a big-time matchup. It's going to feel like postseason at the Jane. Directing our show today, Saul Galvan, our OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire, also the voice of the Oregon softball team on KWVA. He was on the call last night. Now, you've heard Saul on some of the Big Plus broadcasts, and again, from our conversation earlier this week, even with Rob Mullins, you're told to do the neutral TV call when you're on Big Plus. Now, Saul gets to don the throwback Block O hat, and you get to be the voice of the softball team. What'd you see yesterday, huh?
It was just a great all-around performance from the Ducks. And, again, it's really been impressive to see this team and the progression that they made the past couple weeks. I mean, especially from Steph. She was 0 for 11 in the Jane Sanders Classic, but really ever since then she's been able to bounce back. She got a big hit against Washington, then had a really big series against Illinois, and as well as Rutgers. They got her the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. So I really feel like Steph has found her way back. And, I mean, you look at this lineup right now. There's no holes in this lineup. each hitter in this starting lineup right now is hitting over 300, and that's just something that you never hear of in softball and baseball, whatever it is. The consistency that this team has right now in the lineup is just unbelievable, and even in the circle, too, with that Lindsey Grine-Lisa Colson combination.
Can you tell that the voice of the softball team is excited to be at the Jane this weekend? Can you tell? Pre-game starts when?
5:40.
5:40. 5:40 pregame, 6 o'clock first pitch on Friday. You get the hometown call on KWVA. Essentially an extension of the Oregon Sports Network at this point.
I would call it that.
Saul is hanging out in the studio, and this is what it's all about. When we return, you know who's hanging out in the studio next? Coach Lombardi. We're talking with Melyssa Lombardi, Oregon softball head coach, when we return on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still a life to live for the better of myself, my family. My weapon is now safely put away.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio, and Oregon softball head coach Missy Lombardi. Worked out that we get to talk on a Thursday after a rivalry win against the Beavers and a great weekend ahead against the Michigan teams, actually. Oregon softball, Oregon baseball, Oregon lacrosse, all playing Michigan this weekend. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, it's always good to beat the Beavs.
Yes, it is.
So just on behalf of all Duck fans, thanks. And how was the weekend previously before that? Let's go back in time. A record-setting weekend on your East Coast swing, huh?
Yes. Thought they played really well. You know, we had been preparing for that weekend for a long time, knowing we were going to have a time change and just some different things that we did recovery-wise that just went a long way. These guys went up. We enjoyed it. And then played game 1, played game 2, and then came home.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, and I'm sure you've gotten the question a lot, like when you change time zones, what changes? You know, you're doing it more often now. What have you and the staff taken away from it so far? What has changed, if anything?
No, I mean, like you could definitely feel 3 hours, but I just think how we got there and went to bed and, you know, just I felt like it helped us. So I just think our method was good.
Yeah. Well, hydration is usually the number one thing, by the way, that every athletic trainer or nutritionist will tell you, and I'm imagining that was probably common. Mm-hmm. And it worked because you scored 20 runs. And let's put this in context. There have been 7 20-run games in Oregon program history, and now 4 of them have occurred this season. If I told you that statistic preseason, what would Coach Lombardi of 3 months ago have said?
I can't wait to see all of those games.
It's so fun. What's been clicking so well for your offense?
Their plans. They really are passionate about their plans and understanding how quickly can they get into that's showing you how quickly they're getting to their plan.
Sure.
Where maybe earlier in the year we'd have our plan, we'd get there, but we'd get there later in the innings. And they've been working hard on getting there early, like as quick as they can. So the plan's the plate, but then also too, just what these guys are doing, the communication, the feedback that they're giving each other. I just feel like they're on point right now.
The amount of times that I've seen you all put up crooked numbers too, like what does that do for the momentum in your dugout when you put up those crooked numbers like you've been doing so often this season?
We've got great momentum, great passion, great teammates in our dugout. And what's awesome is when we were in Rutgers, we were able to empty our bench twice.
Yeah.
And get others in to get at bats. I mean, Abby was 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs. You just see like our bench came in and they wanted some. So I just think it's important for us. You can only play 9 at a time.
Right.
And we have a roster of 20. What do we have? Roster of 23. Mm-hmm. So from there, it's important how quickly can we get to the opponent's pitching staff so we can, get others out on the field.
That's such a great point. Like in the context of maybe even larger than the season, just how valuable is that experience for everybody?
It is. It's really valuable. And, everybody is putting in the same amount of time and, everybody has different workloads in the game. So to get everybody involved is important to us.
That's an awesome review of the weekend. I know it feels like a while ago, but I haven't talked with you since then, so I had to talk about some 20-run performances. Now, Oregon State, what'd you like last night from your team in Corvallis?
Same thing. I thought we came out and set the tone. Our first inning, we didn't score runs, but we hit the ball hard, and I really liked what we did in the first inning. Elise came in, got a shutdown inning, 1, 2, 3, and then we came right back into the second. So again, the start fast is important for us, and you can see them doing that.
Well, and even in that first inning, so I was calling the baseball game while your game was going on, and in very, by the way, your team's fashion, just everything has such pace to it. Your game started an hour after the baseball game did, and you were done before the baseball game, by the way. Everyone, you talk about the pace of play. I know that's something you love, right? Yeah. Like, you love that your team just has this pace to it and this energy about it.
I think it's important. Like, I want our pitchers to get on the mound and go. I mean, we have a timing clock just like baseball does, but get on the mound and go. Let's be quick on defense. And then we talk a lot about matching our energy. So we get a shutdown inning, and then we want to take that energy into our offense. Can we pass the bat, put some runs on the board, and then now take that back into the next shutdown inning? Like, we talk a lot about our offense and defense working off each other.
It was a broken record, too, last night because, what do you know, Kyle Lushar leads off a game getting on and then turns it into a double, right? I mean, you talk about the start fast. Like, the best leadoff hitter in the country, bar none, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For everything that she's done. Okay, now, stolen bases. Let's revisit this because we're coming up on some record book notes. I won't go into detail yet, and not to put pressure on anything, but y'all are still running wild on the bases. How big of a key has that been, even just the last couple weeks?
It's huge. It's something that we've known since day one, that we have speed and that we want to use our speed to our advantage. And so it's just something that we've been pushing the limit on all year.
I just can't see her losing a foot race to anyone. Track and field. It's Tracktown USA. I feel like Kai Lushar could have a future on the track if she ever wanted it. Kai, if you're listening, someday, maybe, I don't know. We'll see what happens at Hayward Field. I joke, but it's true, isn't it?
I'd like to see it.
Oh, it would be so much fun. Coach Lombardi joining us. Okay, the on the mound, I should say, Elise Sokolski.
Yep.
How big of a performance was that for her last night?
Really big, really big. She actually pitched against them in game one and did well, and then I made a pitching change. I thought last night it was important for her. They've seen her once, so what does she look like the second time around? And the opportunity to throw all 7 and have a complete game for us was important. And there was one point in the game where they ended up scoring a run, and we needed to make a couple of in-game adjustments, and I thought she handled that and made her in-game adjustments that allowed her to stay strong and finish.
That's a big deal, right? You talk about, again, context of an entire season when you have that depth in your staff. I mean, the 1-2 punch that you have, what do you see? What do you like from your 1-2 punches in the circle right now?
Yeah, I just think they're doing a great job of whether they're starting or coming in and relieving, and just really commanding the ball and changing speeds. That's the thing that we've been talking about all year with our staff. Can we command the ball? Can we change speeds?
Yeah. Okay, so let's just, to put a couple things in context, things that I'll say as Coach Lombardi sitting here. This is a bona fide top 10, top 5 team in all the polls right now. Michigan's in town. Supposed to be a beautiful weekend at the Jane. First time ever that Michigan will be in Eugene. First place in the Big Ten standings on the line. Do you look at the standings at all?
For the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Just had to make sure. And then also, there's some projections that start to come out. We're now into the month of April. It sure looks like the Ducks are in a great position to maybe host regionals. Do you talk with the team about that right now?
Absolutely.
Coach, you can come back anytime. Coach Lombardi joining us. And what do you see from Michigan now, in all seriousness?
Yeah, when I think of Michigan, I played Michigan a ton. And I think of Michigan, I think of national championship. I think of Big Ten championships. They always pitch well, have great offense, great defense, excellent coaching. They're very good at what they do. So it's a super regional this weekend, and that's what we need. We need to play super regionals and understand how to get game one and win a super regional.
I joke, by the way, everyone, because Coach and I have talked before about how you're someone that just embraces the reality of postseason and what it can mean, and that's why you schedule the way that you do. Do you get excited for weekends like this with kind of that postseason feeling, even in the regular season?
Absolutely. I love this.
This is what, by the way, limited tickets are available. Get them fast. Looks like it's going to be a sellout. So if you're tuned in here on a Thursday, great weekend ahead. Oregon, Michigan on the softball diamond at Jane Sanders Stadium. Limited tickets are still available. Going to be a lot of fun at the Jane. What do you want to see from your team?
I really want them, we just talk about each weekend being better than the weekend before, and I think it's important for them to do that, to just show our consistency in all 3 cylinders. When we have all 3 cylinders, we have offense, defense, and pitching, I think this group's a tough group to beat.
The pink game, by the way, on Friday, that's always a special night.
It is a special night. It's just, every one of us has somebody close in our heart that has dealt with breast cancer. And so to have the opportunity to celebrate those women and to, just play in their honor, it's something that our team always loves to do.
Yeah, I think it's a really special evening, a really special day. 6 o'clock on Friday, 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then 1 o'clock on Sunday, the schedule ahead for Oregon softball. What we missed? What else should fans know, Coach?
The Lions Den. Bring the Lions Den. I love it. I'll never will get old. The rumble, everything. We need the Lions Den. We need a postseason environment.
It's supposed to be 66 and sunny at first pitch on Friday. And again, that's a 6 o'clock first pitch. Then it's supposed to be like 64 and sunny at 4 o'clock on Saturday. It sounds like a great weekend at the Jane. Coach, thanks for always taking the time. Thanks for being here, and best of luck at home this weekend, all right?
All right, thank you.
Coach Lombardi, Oregon softball against Michigan. First place in the Big Ten's on the line. Big resume ahead for postseason. Why wouldn't you be at the Jane? It's going to be a great weekend. When we come back, continuing to talk all things Oregon athletics, we've got Taylor Susnara, Acrobatics and Tumbling. Talk about Clash of the Titans, number 1 versus number 2 on Saturday for Acro and Tumbling, next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You say you never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, know it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember, back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son? I left my heart.
We're back inside the Country Financial Studio. Thanks to Coach Lombardi for joining us. From one head coach to another, we have a clash of titans truly coming up. Oregon and Baylor, acrobatics and tumbling. The Ducks are on the road in Waco. It's a Saturday matchup at 3 o'clock. It's on ESPN+. And before they travel to Waco, we sat down with Oregon acrobatics and tumbling head coach Taylor Susnara. When you get to this point in the season, postseason approaching, and you get number 1 versus number 2 in the rankings, the clash of titans coming. Taylor Susnara, acrobatics tumbling head coach, is here. Coach, how's the season been? What's going on?
Season has been awesome so far. We just got back from seeing Quinnipiac, Iona. We had 2 big wins on the road on the East Coast. I'm still, adjusting the time change. That was tough. But aside from that, season has been great. The team is really just kind of slowly climbing the mountain, and they've gotten way more consistent. So I am totally excited for this weekend.
So talk a little bit about the travel, because we were saying, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, like certainly the travel, the Big Ten, it's a change, but for you all, it wasn't really a conference shift, right? But yet somehow the way that the universe works, it gave you back-to-back East Coast trips on back-to-back weekends, so you stayed out there. What was it like?
It was long.
Yeah.
I think at the end of it, we were ready to depart from each other. Even though we love each other, it's just, Anyways, it was fun. We got to do some great things thanks to Women in Flight. We had a little bit of some bonding at the Color Factory. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's
tell us more.
It's an interactive art museum.
Oh, fun.
I think Gen Z's dream with all the photos and all that. So it was fun, though. I enjoyed it. We got to know each other a little bit more and had some fun. Some memories for sure.
Yeah. I've talked to coaches before about sometimes they like being on the road because you don't have the distractions being at home, and also you're eating meals together. You're doing all these things together. So it sounds like you took advantage of that in a long trip at least.
Totally. Yeah, we had some fun. We did our job. We got to business when we needed to, but we got to enjoy spring break a little bit as well.
That's great. Well, and 2 wins.
Yes.
So what have you seen from the team? I mean, only losses to Baylor. You get a rematch with Baylor coming up in Waco on Saturday. How you doing? I mean, tell us a little bit about the season as it's built up to this point.
Sure. What's interesting is our starting lineup has stayed pretty consistent throughout the year, and normally I think we have a little bit more
ebb and flow
fluctuation.
Right.
But I think that we have a really solid starting lineup, and I think that they're really getting into their groove. And, going into Quinnipiac, Haley Ellis kind of tweaked her ankle, so we adjusted our tumbling event, and obviously we had that fall in Quinnipiac, but we were able to kind of adjust and pick it up for Iona, which was great. And going into Baylor, what we're talking about this week is just the expectation. We expect Baylor to look a certain way. We expect, the scores to look a certain way when you have the top 2 teams competing against each other.
Right.
And so while we know what to expect, you can also expect that there may be something unexpected happen.
Sure.
For either team, right? And so I think for us, it's just we know what to expect on the other side, but what are we going to do in response to that?
For your sport that's so perfection oriented, how do you handle that mentally with your team over the course? Because the unexpected does happen. You're going to have a fall. Things are going to change over the course of a meet. How do you handle that as a coaching staff?
I've evolved in that sense over the last few years as head coach. I think when stuff happens, you got to shake it off. I think at our meet versus Quinnipiac, we were down the whole time, and I told him, I said, it's going to come down to a team event, you guys. You got to hit that thing if you want to win the meet.
And you did.
And we did. And they crushed it, and I was so proud of them, and I was pumped. And I think just mentally, it's when do we need a little kick in the butt, and when do we need to take a big deep breath and dance on the sideline.
Right.
And I think in those different moments, you just feel it out.
I remember after the Mary Hardin Baylor meet, the last time you all were at Matthew Knight Arena, senior night. I want to ask you about that briefly, but to go back to that point, I remember you said, okay, afterwards, it's we had 3 things that we were working on, How important is that, too, in a sport that has so many little details that you focus on just certain things going into each event, I suppose?
It's huge. At practice, sometimes I think the athletes can get overwhelmed because coaches are like, okay, this.
Right.
And then
it's a long list.
We got to slow it down a little bit, reel it back in. And so what we really try and do is talk about what we're most confident in going into the meet, and then also what are things maybe that we can improve upon, or what are our goals. And we kind of limit those to 3, because if the list can get very long, and then that becomes overwhelming. So we always try and keep fun in there as maybe an extra, but it's huge. This sport is so mental. This team is one of the most talented teams I've worked with in a while. And so that's something that we're really focusing on. And I think it's just they're going to peak at the right time. So this weekend going into Baylor, if we get a win, awesome. It's going to feel like the national championship.
Right.
But then we have the national championship, and that is kind of the next focus. But I think we're just really trying to stay present in where we're at.
Baylor, 3 o'clock Saturday. It is on ESPN Plus from Waco. And the way the schedule worked out, talk about peaking at the right time. I mean, you have this one, but then at the end of this month, the NCAA National Championships in South Dakota. As a coach, how do you build up over the course of a season? How do you try to peak at the right time? Is there a strategy to that at all?
We try to strategize, right? It doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, I get it.
I think for us and our team this year, the strategy has been let's focus on the little things, but then also how do we create consistency? I think for us being really strong and consistent this year, team event has been the one thing that we needed extra work on. Team event, when you get to those really tight-knit meets, for example, like us versus Quinnipiac, right? You can be down the whole meet, but if you nail team event, you can win the meet.
Yeah.
Especially if the other team doesn't execute the way that they need to keep their lead. And so strategy-wise, I think sometimes you forget that team event has the most amount of points throughout the entire meet. So even if you're ahead, you could lose.
You get a few perfect 10s and you could lose. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think strategy-wise, it's let's really make sure that we're dialed into not only the whole meet, but team event, right? It's going to come down to team event, especially for opponents like Baylor.
Yeah. I feel like your sport, too, is similar in like track and field has form charts, right? Where they kind of know, okay, here's where we could score.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where things could happen. And, I'm asking, I think, like it is similar, right? In your sport, like, okay, here's where we think we could have some advantages, right?
Totally. And thankfully, after each meet, we can request up to 5 heat summaries. And so those are essentially all the deductions that the officials are taking with whatever heat that we want to get information on.
Right. Okay.
And so when we see that, we can nitpick, we can break down the film and say, okay, this is where we think this is coming from.
Interesting.
And so then we really try and hone in on those little things at practice.
How much has the film changed how you coach? Because now, like, every meet for the most part is televised somewhere on ESPN Plus for us, Big Plus. Like, how does that change how you approach things?
It's huge. When I was first getting into coaching, I thought film was just kind of there, but now we use it all day, every day.
Really?
To look, because sometimes to the naked eye, you're like, okay, this is what happened. But then you go back and you look and it could have been the entry here rather than just this, initial reaction. And so I think it really helps the athletes figure out why things are happening versus just, hey, your arm's bent. Okay, but why is it bent?
Right.
And then we go from there.
Right, and then you can adjust. And, again, in the perfection orientation that is your sport, is everyone on your roster a perfectionist by nature? Yeah, I feel like it's, like, essential.
Yes.
I get it. Okay,
in acro specifically, I think maybe sometimes other things are like, it doesn't matter. But with acro, it has to be there's a right place for everything.
That's interesting. Taylor Susnara joining us. Baylor coming up on Saturday. I want to ask you, too, just a little bit about the roster. And you mentioned the consistency. I'm glad that you said that because, we've already celebrated Senior Day, the way that the schedule fell, but now you have a whole month of competition. Just some of your roster that has been so essential for you over the course of the season, some of your leaders.
Sure. I think Alexis Giardino, we call her G. She's a senior for us. She's a top base and tumbler. She's small, but she's mighty.
Yeah.
In practice, at meet, she's definitely someone that the team looks to. She is absolutely, without a doubt, we could not do it without her. I also think another senior who is thankfully returning, Blessin McMorris, pumped
Love
about that. She's huge for the program. I think both her and G, they know when it's business. They know when it's time to kick it into gear, but they also know how to have a really fun time. And I think that's really unique in leadership. And then freshmen. Our freshmen are killing it.
Yeah.
Angelica Martin, Cassidy Koo, and that 5-element acro just competing a brand new skill, and they're absolutely crushing it. And then we have our 2 little freshman tumblers, Morgan Willingham, Bria Alvarado. It's amazing that they have the mental capacity to compete in the way that they compete, because as a freshman, you're coming into a new sport. You don't know what to expect. It's a whole new surface. You got 40 other athletes looking at you in expecting you to do your job. And so I'm just really proud of how they have competed this season. And, there's a whole handful of other people that I could mention, Bethany Glick, Ava Gowdy, just, Rachel Furlong, a shout out to all of them, but those are just some of the people, to name a few.
Baylor on Saturday, 3 o'clock. It's on ESPN+. And then we'll be talking again before the NCAA National Championships. I said it to start. It's Clash of Titans. It's Oregon. It's Baylor. This is what this sport – these are the 2 programs that have built this sport, if we're being honest with ourselves. So that's fun. That's exciting. Keys to success, what do you want to see as a coach?
I want to see a really solid meet top to bottom. I want to see a really stinking good team event.
Yep.
And I really want to see a win. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah!
That's the goal. But I think for us, we are playing the number 1 team. They're going for 10 national championships this season, and I would love to be the team that knocks them down.
Yep.
So
with you. And then again, you get this one, but then you peak at the end of the season.
Totally.
Right? Yeah, no, I'm with you. Taylor Susnara, our guest. Travel safe to Waco, and then we'll talk to you again before you go to South Dakota.
Lucky you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
That's right. Taylor Susnara, always great to catch up with the Oregon Acrobatics and Tumbling head coach. She and the Ducks in Waco on Saturday, 3 o'clock. It's on ESPN+, Oregon versus Baylor. Acrobatics and Tumbling regular season finale before they do head to South Dakota in a few weeks for the NCAA National Championships. When we return, an update on what could be something pretty historic for Kiara Romero. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now, so good to see you real.
Wrap it up, Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. So, through round 2 at the Augusta National Women's Amateur, Kiara Romero is tied for first. One of the best amateur women's golfers in the world. She's a Duck, and she may very well win the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Round 3 tomorrow. She's tied for first through 2 rounds. She was 4 under today. Outstanding for Kiara Romero. She and the entire Oregon women's golf team have continued to just have great results. I'm running out of ways to actually describe how consistently impressive the Oregon women's golf team has been. Shout out to Derek Radley. Shout out to Kiara Romero. We might have a Duck winning the most prestigious amateur golf event right on the doorstep of the Masters. The Masters is next week. I'm excited. It is truly an amazing time of year when all of the Masters ads start to play right around March Madness. It's good stuff. We're there. Weather's getting nice. Spring. It's going to be wonderful. So, best of luck to Kiara Romero teeing off tomorrow in, again, a chance to win the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Elsewhere for Oregon athletics, tomorrow the Oregon track and field team is splitting between Long Beach, California and Stanford, California. We'll have some updates for you on GoDucks.com. Men's tennis is at home against Wisconsin. It's a 3 o'clock start at the Student Tennis Center. Might be on the outdoor courts for Oregon men's tennis tomorrow, which would be a whole heck of a lot of fun. Then Duck baseball at 5 o'clock. 4:45 4:45 pregame show ahead of a 5:05 official first pitch. And Oregon softball, 6 o'clock tomorrow, beginning that series against Michigan. Pink game at Jane Sanders Stadium. Limited tickets left for Oregon softball. Top 5 team. See you at the Jane. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks.